Hello, welcome back. We are working on this Bultaco. Today we're going to do a clutch teardown and see if we can't get the clutch to run. It's dragging pretty badly to the point where pulling the clutch lever, the engine doesn't disengage and it kills the engine. So I'm going to try to loosen that up and see what we've got. First step is to take the clutch cover off. Okay, always the danger of doing projects is you find new projects. So as I'm working on this, I'm noticing that this is super loose. Like, I'm pretty sure I can just pull this off. So that's not great. I definitely don't want to be driving anywhere and just have my shift lever fall off. So you can kind of see that it is basically pinched together, so either need to get a new shift lever so we can pinch it around there, or trying to use a hacksaw maybe and get a little space in between there so we can tighten it up. So this is tight down on there, but this is obviously an issue.
Okay, so it turns out that GoPro audio is crap, so I'm recording this after the fact. All I'm doing here is removing the drain plug into a spare canister that I had, and then taking the clutch cover off.
You can see that this is pretty chewed up. We'll focus on there, but so I'm gonna try to find a new one of these online, and so I can replace that, because I had to actually use a vice grip to get it started. Once it started, it just kind of came off, but it's pretty chewed up. So hopefully we can find a new one of those. Alright, so while that's draining, if you don't know how a clutch works, I have a broken clutch here, so this clutch was replaced at some point, and this is the sort of remaining pieces. You see this little fin was broken off, but how the clutch works is you have these two plates that are together, and when they're pressed together, they both turn, and the outer one is driven by the engine itself, and the inner one powers then the motor, or the wheel, drives power to the wheel. So when they're together, then the motor and both the outer and the inner spin together, and it drives power from the engine to the wheel. When you pull in the clutch lever, the inner plate moves out just a little bit, much less than I'm doing now, I'm just exaggerating, but it moves out a little bit, and that allows the engine to spin independently of the wheel. Then when you let the clutch lever out, it pulls these two together, and the friction between them starts to move the motor and the wheel together. So the problem I'm having right now, as this is draining, so we can take this off and take a closer look, is that there's either not enough separation, so maybe the springs that hold this together are too tight, or it dried out and it got stuck, so that the motor never actually releases from the wheel. So when you have the clutch lever in, it still turns together and then it kills the engine. So I'm hoping that when we take the cover off, we can either get some oil in between there and get them to spin independently, or loosen those springs a little bit, give it a little more play, and that way they can spin independently of each other and get it to slip.
Alright, once the clutch cover was off, I did try to squeeze a little oil in there, not that gear oil that you see in front of me, but the correct oil for that clutch side, and I couldn't get the plates to slip. So I'm just taking all the springs out now, and basically what I'm going to do is take each one of the plates off and inspect them, make sure that there's not really any warping or too much wear, and then clean them off, make sure that there's no debris or anything stuck in there. And then what I did was I just added a little oil, took I think it was 30 weight oil, and then really lubricated up both sides of the plates as I reassembled it.
Okay, I have the clutch plates on. I haven't put the springs back on yet, but now when I turn the wheel, you can see that it is turning the inner
part of that clutch, but not turning the engine, so that's doing more what it's supposed to. So if I do that a little here, so when I turn the wheel, you can see it's turning that inner part of the clutch, but not turning the engine itself. So now I gotta put the springs, all these springs and stuff back on. I gotta put all those back on, and then make sure that the actual clutch lever works. So this is the adjustment screw that was there. If I screw that in, this basically starts to push on. There's a little push rod in there, and that engages the clutch lever. So I'm gonna put the springs on there, and then make sure this all turns, and then put the start this adjustment screw. Okay, so I've just barely, so these are just finger tight on there, they're barely in there. What I wanted to show, so when I pull in the clutch, you'll see that clutch plate push out, and that's what gives it room to actually spin. So I just noticed this as I was tightening it. Each one of these has a little basket around it that it pulls into. This one, as I was tightening it, slipped in inside there, so I don't know how easy that is to see, but you see how it sort of fell in, and it is now sort of pushing on the outside, or pushing on the inside rather. So that could be what's causing our issues, is that this basket is not where, or is worn down. So I'm going to back this back out and see if I can see what's wrong with that piece. Okay, so this is the basket that was sort of falling in. All I did was kind of try to widen it a little bit and put it back in there. I'm not sure. We'll see if when I tighten it down, if it actually pulls through. That could potentially cause some issues. We'll see. Okay, so the basket did fall back in when I started tightening this down. So I think what I'm going to do is temporarily just run it with 5 springs, and then see if I can get a basket and fix that after I get the baskets. Watch this carefully. You can see how it wobbles a little bit. Let's see if I can get it to, so it wobbles a little bit. So we want to basically back out the high side, or pull in the high side, or back out the low side in order to straighten it out. Alright, so I took a little hacksaw, just put a little gap in there. We'll see if that's enough to hold it on. It was pretty loose, so we'll see. Alright, gapping with the hacksaw seems to have worked pretty good. Much more secure. I'm much happier with that. That's going to be a lot better to ride.
Okay, last step is to put the gas tank and seat back on. It's just a couple of bolts for the gas tank, and then just hooking up the fuel lines. And then it's ready for a test ride.